Dricus du Plessis retained his middleweight title at UFC 312 against Sean Strickland in the rematch. This time round, a lot more decisive. He had a clean sweep, 5 rounds to none. We're here to do some matchmaking with all of the fighters on the main card. Kick us off with the contender, Dan. What have you got Sean Strickland matched up against next?
Well, I think this fight sort of spells the end of Sean Strickland in title contention. I think it's a decisive win for DDP. And for Sean Strickland, this is the thing with Sean Strickland, he's looking at plenty of rematches he's got on the table for him. I think Israel Adesanya, like I said, coming off a loss, I think that was a matchup that people were looking at before the fight even concluded with DDP. They're thinking Strickland losing on the back of Adesanya with his devastating loss to Imavov. That's an easy matchup to make, and that could easily sit on a co-main event on a pay-per-view for over 5 rounds. Run that back, that's a possibility. I don't know if Adesanya should continue in the sport, so I'm sort of leaning in a different way with it. Again, I'm looking at someone like Cannonier. He's got a big fight coming up against Rodriguez. If he gets in the win column with that, by all means, we could be looking at another rematch there for Strickland. But again, I think the likes of Barallo and Imavov, they're ready. They're going to fight each other, I think, before they get into a title shot. So I think they take those two out of the picture when it comes to Sean Strickland. By all means, I think Vittori and Dolidze, thrown down. So I don't think for Strickland he's going to be thrown right down the rankings, seeing Bo Nickel in the next sort of 2 weeks or so sort of thing. So I think, for Strickland, he's probably looking at a rematch. I'm thinking Cannonier probably gets his job done against Rodriguez. We could be looking at Strickland versus Cannonier rematch. But I tell you what, if I'm the UFC, I'm 100% going for Strickland Adesanya 2 on a pay-per-view event before the end of the year.
It's one that makes sense. And as you say, the middleweight division has kind of played out. There's kind of 3 tiers happening at the top of the middleweight division right now. You've seen Nick Pete and the Fight Disciples describing it, and they described it very well. And it's very true. You've kind of got the top echelon, which is going to give away my matchup for DDP, which is obvious. Chimaev, I think we all know that's next. DDP's come out and said he wants to out-grapple Chimaev in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East. This guy is mad. He wants to do that. He's got a set of balls on him, and he might be able to do it. He keeps impressing us every time, but we've got them two at the top of the division. You've kind of got Imavov and Berhalio as the 2 contenders, and then there's kind of this other category of like Whittaker, Sean Strickland, and Adesanya below that. So the division has played out pretty well here. We needed that fight to happen between DDP and Sean Strickland in order for us to see exactly what way this middleweight division is. And Chimaev is the obvious one for DDP next. As you say, there's some options there for Strickland, mostly rematch. I like the Cannonier shout, and I also like the rematch with Adesanya shout. Adesanya will want that one. He will want to run that one back. He had a very, very flat performance that night, and I'm sure it's one that he'll want to come back and get the L scrubbed out and get a W for that one. Zhang Weili defended her strawweight title against Tatiana Suarez in a dominant performance. Zhang Weili just gets better with age. For Tatiana Suarez, there's some interesting matchups for her. There's one between Yan Jinan and Verna Jandiroba, which is interesting, does make sense, but that's not the one I'm going for. I think that's too high up the rankings. Tatiana Suarez has really suffered due to inactivity. She needs to be active, and I would like to see her fighting someone slightly less down the rankings, getting a win under her column. And I think a good fight for her is Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern is on a 2-fight winning streak. She's a good grappler. She won't cause Tatiana Suarez too much grief on the feet. They'll be pretty evenly matched on the feet, I would nearly say. They're both grappling dominant fighters. It's going to be jiu-jitsu against wrestling. It's one that makes sense to me. It gives Tatiana Suarez a chance to really feel her way back into the division, because I think she'll fight for the title again. I think ring rust played a key factor in this loss to Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang was on fire on the night, but reversing wrestling clinches and everything, or reversing wrestling positions, that's something that you don't see from Tatiana Suarez. I think there was a bit of ring rust in there. I think she needs to fight someone a bit lesser like Mackenzie Dern, feel her way back into the division, and then maybe get the winner of Yan Jinan or Verna Jandiroba, and then have another go at the title. For the champ, Weili Zhang, I think Dana kind of mentioned that after the fun matchup that could happen. Are you going for it, Dan? Champ status?
It's the only place to go. I mean, for Zhang Weili, she has cleared out this division. I mean, Tatiana Suarez was this, unbeaten prospect that everyone thought this is her belt. Myself and yourself included, like I said, we did think she was going to pick the belt up. And Zhang Weili was levels above her. Like I said, I think she showed that Suarez has got a lot of growing to do when it comes to her whole well-rounded MMA game. Like I said, her grappling is always going to be there, but it's in the striking that Zhang Weili really did put it on her. And then when it came to the grappling exchanges, Zhang Weili matched her. And
that's a impressive thing, wasn't it?
Like I said, I think I think I severely sort of overestimated Suarez in the grappling and underestimated Zhang Weili. I think she just showed everyone she's far and away the best 155-pound stroke women on the roster across any sort of organization at all. Now, when that happens, there's nowhere else to go other than up. She has to go up to 125. She has to challenge Shevchenko. Now, for Shevchenko, like I said, that win against Grasso, by all means, that then got the scrubbed out the loss and she got the win back. But I think, look, Furo was next in line. The Sphere was in, September? Well, we're in February now. We've not did nothing. I think Manon Fiorot, she's missed the bus. She's missed the opportunity. Dana is all in. Zhang versus Shevchenko. International Fight Week just been announced, 317. That's such an easy co-main event right there. Like I said, I don't know if it will be Jones Aspinall on that card. I think we're probably hoping a bit too soon for that. But by all means, Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, that is a massive co-main event and it deserves to be on one of those big stellar pay-per-views. You're looking either Las Vegas, especially International Fight Week, maybe November MSG if people want to wait a bit longer for it. I think it's a massive fight. I think it's the biggest fight the women's divisions have seen in quite some time. The only fight that can rival it is Harrison versus Nunes. But for that to happen, we're going to have to see Kayla Harrison run through Juliana Pena, hopefully. But we don't know when that's going to happen. Hopefully in the next sort of few months or so, I'm hearing rumblings of it. I think you might see a sort of an announcement about that soon. But yeah, no, I think Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko has to be next. I think Manon Fiorot, unfortunately, she's sort of left out in the dark. She might have to fight another contender to keep herself relevant when it comes to the number one contenderships at flyweight. So yeah, I think Shevchenko, Zhang, that's the fight to go with. And I think International Fight Week is a perfect co-main event.
As much as it is tough on Manon Fiorot, who we've been saying and we've been calling her for her title shot for a long time now, it makes sense. It makes sense. Zhang Weili has no contenders in the strawweight division. You have to give fighters a chance to create legacy, to create history, like becoming a champ. There hasn't been a super fight like this in the women's divisions for a long time. Dana seems happy on it. It seemed like he wanted to make that fight straight after the press conference, which he doesn't usually do. So that's one that I think we'll see. And what a fight that'll be. That's the biggest women's fight we've seen in a long, long time. Moving on to Taliesin Teixeira taking on Tafa. Tafa. Disappointing, Dan, eh?
Oh, look, I mean, hey, look, Tafa gang. I back the man in his home. Well, I say home nation. You know, Aussies, Samoans. They mixed down there, but like I said, for Tafa, it wasn't to be. Like I said, this 6'7" giant is actually quite good. And you know, unfortunately, ran into a bit of an elbow. And like I said, for Justin Tafa, 7-5 now. Hey, look, you could be probably staring out the door of the UFC. I mean, a favourite of mine, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, got cut for way less. So Justin Tafa, I mean, if he's got a UFC fight in the future, I think it's been a good year for him. But if it's anyone in the UFC, look, Mo Usman, brother of Kamaru Usman, beat up Junior Tafa. Justin Tafa.
Back for his bro.
Get one back for his bro. I think, Mo Usman, like I said, he's on a bit of a skid as well. By all means, look, this is heavyweight in the UFC. You're getting a few weird matchups. Let's just chuck another one in there. Usman versus Tafa. Hey, look, if this is an Apex card, it might be a co-main event. If it's a pay-per-view card, we're probably looking early prelims. So Tafa versus Usman, I hope we see that soon. If not, then I think Justin Tafa may be looking at the exit door in the UFC. But hey, what a ride it's been.
What a ride it's been. And he's 7-5 now. There's not too many hanging around the UFC with a record like that. So
no,
wouldn't surprise me to see them cutting, especially with Rosenstruck, you know, a weird one that was. You know, like if Rosenstruck deserves to be cut, Tafa deserves to be cut too. I don't think they should cut any of them because the heavyweight is lacking sort of big names. And as much as Tafa fighting style, well, his fighting style is exciting, but as much as he's not at UFC level, he's a big name. You stick him on them Aussie cards and they're all cheering for him. and he's also in the UFC, which is a nice storyline as well. His opponent, the 6'7" giant Teixeira, then he was impressive. I was impressed with him. I did pick him for a first round knockout, so I'm claiming that one. 6'7", we've seen his striking is very, very good, but he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I think he's the full package. We've got a good, slim, may I add, in shape heavyweight contender that might be able to shoot his way up the rankings, and I think that's what they need to do, because we've spoke about it before. John Jones, Tom Aspinall happens. Regardless of the winner, there's no contenders. Especially if it's... Look, John Jones isn't going to fight any more contenders. We're struggling even getting to fight Aspinall. But if Tom Aspinall wins that fight, he's beat nearly all of the contenders anyway, apart from Cyril Gane, maybe Almeida you could throw in there, but they're not at the top of the division right now. I think they need to push Teixeira on. They're doing it with Curtis Blades is fighting next weekend, and he's fighting Kunev, who's making his UFC debut, a heavyweight. He's shooting in straight to 5th in the rankings against Curtis Blades in his debut. I think they need to do something similar to Teixeira here. Maybe not even shooting as far as 5th. Maybe giving someone like Denise. That's the matchup I'm putting forward. He's 15th ranked. I think if he can creep into the rankings, he can then shoot his way up and become a contender, which is what the UFC is seriously lacking. So it's something that I could see them doing. I could see them giving him a matchup into the rankings straight away. He's now 8-0, 9-0. I think that was him going 9-0. You know, there is other names. One we kind of mentioned was Chris Barnett outside their rankings, but I don't know if that does much for him in terms of pushing him up the rankings. It's a big name, yes, but you know, in terms of fighting style, do you really look at it and say, Jesus, he is impressive. He's beat Chris Barnett? Not really. I think we need to really see where he's at. Let's get him pushed up the rankings. Let's get some heavyweight contenders in there for our boy Tom Aspinall whenever he beats John Jones. Jimmy Crute then. Jimmy Crute. Back in action in front of his Aussie crowd. Not very often we see a draw in this sport, but this is Jimmy Crute's second in his last 4 fights, which is absurd. Very, very unlucky to have 2 fights going that way. I think we need to see more activity from Jimmy Crute. The fight I'm going to put forward is an exciting one. It's Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker had his last fight cancelled at UFC 311. I think the timings will work out. I think they're both big names. Jimmy Crute is a star in America. He's a light heavyweight veteran. A good fight back for Johnny Walker to really feel his way back into the division after a bit of a poor spell from him. It's an exciting one. 2 exciting names, 2 exciting fighters, and I think it's a good fight for the light heavyweight division. For his opponent, Rodolfo Bellato, what do you do with him?
I think, like I said, draws are so rare. Unless your name's Jimmy Crute, they do. It's difficult because the fight. You get to the end of the fight and it doesn't nothing for either man. So neither of them really can push on and really jump up the rankings or towards the rankings in the case of Bellato. So it's a difficult one. Like I said, with draws, some people tend to say, "Oh, just run it back." Like I said, it was a great fight. Like I said, it was a good bit of a slugfest. I don't know if we'd see it ran back. I think Jimmy Crute was well on top in that first round, just a case of sort of ran out of steam. For Bellato, like I said, it's opportunity. I think with light heavyweight, I'm looking through this light heavyweight ranking in the UFC. I'm looking through the light heavyweight rankings on things like Tapology. I'm seeing names, I'm seeing Bellator names, I'm not seeing UFC names. But I think UFC light heavyweight division for quite some time has been weak. Now, the way you really make a name for yourself is taking opportunities. Now, we've just seen Umar Sy, I believe, has just pulled out of UFC London in March. Now, if I'm Rodolfo Bellato, Alonzo Menifield, I think he's just inside the rankings. Now, Bellato, on the face of his career so far, doesn't deserve a UFC ranked opponent. But if the opportunity's there and you're the man sticking your hand up, going there, going out to London after being down in Australia, by all means, look, it's a great opportunity, and I think Bellato should really jump at it. Like I said, Menifield will want to stay on the London card. He's got a date. He's aiming for that date. If you're the one who throws your name in the hat, if he beats Menifield in London in front of a great crowd, then by all means, he's ranked. He's ranked in the next week then, and then he can push his career on from there. Because like I said, a draw sort of does nothing for either man. So I think for Bellato, it's a case of opportunity knocks, UFC London, take that opportunity that Umar Sy, a rising prospect, was given. He's now pulled out of that. Again, I don't think anyone knows yet of the reason behind it. I've just seen a post on Instagram from him where I think he's quite apologetic. I assume he's pulled out. But no, I think many fielders are waiting an opponent in London. Bellato, take that opportunity, take that flight to London, and by all means pick up a massive win, biggest win of his career, and he's ranked then in March. So I think Bellato's got to take the opportunity.
It is an opportunity for him, and it's one of them ones, you punch your ticket to the raffle there, you take the risk, and it could pay tenfold. And even if he was to lose that matchup, yes, he's at a draw and then a loss, but the UFC respects fighters that step in at late notice. They will be favourable with your career for the next few fights if you take an opportunity like that. We've seen it happen 100 times before. Fighters that step in late notice, they're well looked after. That's a good shout. I definitely would like to see that in London. We'll be at London, and that would be a great addition to the card for us to watch live and enjoy over a few beers. The main card opener, Jake Matthews taking on Francisco Prado. Prado's a funny one, isn't it? He's kind of a bit of an in-betweener. He's sort of swayed between lightweight and welterweight, and I've never known where he looks better. But after watching him against Jake Matthews and seeing the size discrepancy, I think he has to move back down the lightweight. If it's a bigger cut for him, so what? Just make the cut, because then they're welterweights. Some of these welterweights are coming down from middleweight, obviously, and dropping right down. Yeah. But Jake Matthews looked huge compared to Francisco Prado in there and start. He really is the definition of an in-betweener in the welterweight division. I think he should move back down to lightweight. His fight before was at lightweight against Daniel Zellhuber. I would like to see him just go down there and stay there and try and build a bit of a resume down in that division. Yeah. A fighter I'm going to put forward just was defeated last week, Mike Davis. I think that's an interesting matchup. The timings work out well. They've fought 1 week apart from each other. They can both take 3 or 4 months out and get back in camp and get another fight. Maybe 5-6 months out. We'll maybe see it in summertime. I think Francisco Prado taking on Mike Davis. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. It's an interesting one. Both guys coming off a loss. Both guys kind of need to win. So there's a bit more at stake here. It's one that makes sense to me, and it's the fight that I would make if I was in that war room making fights for the UFC. For the Aussie, Jake Matthews, what's his next move?
I think we were all happy to see Jake Matthews performing at that level in front of his hometown crowd. It was lovely to see. Like I said, Jake Matthews he's like a veteran in this game. I think he's over 20 fights in the UFC, joined at 19 years of age, like I said, but he's never really got into those rankings. He never really got that run of form together. By all means, look, he's called for Neil Magny. Like I said, it's a great call out. I think it's a bit lofty. I think Neil Magny is someone that's not saved, but he's saved for the likes of Michael Morales. He's like for the save of Ian Gary. Those rising contenders that are unbeaten have those records to sort of maintain and keep intact. So I think that's a bit of a lofty ask when it comes to Jake Matthews, but he still deserves a name. Like I said, this is a man who's been around the UFC for so many years now. He deserves a big name. And Michael Chiesa, like I said, it's a big name good for fight. Him. Like I said, it's one that Jake Matthews deserves. He deserves a name on that, on that poster. Whether it is, like I said, Matthews versus Chiesa can sit on a main card of a fight night quite easily. Like I said, it's a good matchup, and I think Michael Chiesa last time out, obviously great win. Michael Chiesa is someone that I don't know if I'm going to get a post from GFL saying they've signed Michael Chiesa at some point soon, but I think he's still in the UFC. I'm sure he is, but like I said, it's Michael Chiesa versus Jake Matthews. I think it's a reward for Jake Matthews for all this work in the UFC. If he beats Michael Chiesa at that point, then you might be looking at someone like Neil Magny, someone in the fringe of, top 15 at welterweight. I believe at the moment 15, I think, is Michael Venom Page. So that might be something I'd want to stay away from if I was Jake Matthews, and probably go for Michael Chiesa next.
Good fight. Very, very interesting one there. That's one that didn't even cross my mind when I was thinking about Jake Matthews. There you are, folks. Yeah. That is all of the matches or all of the bouts we make after UFC 312. There's some sort of rising stars coming out of it. We've seen 2 dominant champions retain their title. The card as a whole, we kind of said before it, this card might be one of the ones where it's pretty shit on paper, but when it comes down to it, there's going to be loads of knockouts and there's going to be loads of highlight moments. It never really happened, but it's now...
There was one. I'm going to back my guy now. Quillen Salkeld.
Yeah, good shout.
50 grand bonus for that man. What did he do? 19 seconds in, round 1, knockout. That's my guy. Quillen Salkeld. I called it. I didn't see anyone else call it. I called it. Quillen Salkeld, 50 grand bonus on his debut. What a night. I saw him, I think he might gambled it in the casino the night of, so I hope he was successful with that. But yeah, hey, Quillan Salk, there's another lightweight on that card last night. Wongju. Quillan Salk killed Wongju next. Get the ball rolling. Start this UFC career off with a bang.
What a pick that was. Dana is referring to the bonus predictions video that we done before, where we try and predict who's going to get the performance of the night and the fight of the night bonuses. Dan went for Salcoat, and what a pick it was. What a pick it was. He opened that card with probably the best knockout of the whole card.
Yeah.
That brings us to an end of this video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Combat Sports UK on YouTube and all social medias, and hit the bell so you get a notification when the next video goes live. Thank you very much, and we will see you in the next one.